On today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast, Roadhouse 2 is officially on the way with Jake Gyllenhaal. The Boys Season 5 has been greenlit before Season 4 has even come out. House of the Dragon has dropped their latest trailer, and it's amazing. A much cheaper Netflix, Apple TV, and Peacock bundle is coming, but only if you're a customer of Comcast. If the new Ryan Reynolds movie is getting amazing first reactions, and Nicolas Cage is going to do a live-action Spider-Man Noir series on Amazon, that and a whole bunch more here on the John Campea Show podcast today. I am, of course, your host, John Campea, and it is an awesome honor and privilege, as it is every day, to have you, our international friends, gather around as we talk about our favorite things in the world, movies and movie news, TV and streaming, all sorts of good stuff. Not just giving you our opinions, but hopefully giving you some information and context so you guys can form your own well-informed opinions, whether they're the same or different than ours. Joining me in studio, I got Ray Ora.
Hello.
Jonathan Voico is here.
Hey, guys.
Writer, director, producer, Robert Meyer Burnett.
What is up, my friends?
And most importantly, you guys are here. Thank you so much for being here, making this little show part of your day. And here's how the show is going to go. We're going to start off by talking about some predetermined topics. And in the second half of the show, we're going to take the live questions that you guys have already sent in using the Super Chats. But as happens often, the Super Chats have been filled up before the show even started. So you can't send in any more, but we will get to those ones that got sent in the second part of the show. All right, guys. With that all down, let's get things started with this. You know, Roadhouse hit Amazon. They made the blundering, idiotic mistake of not putting it in theaters first. But the movie was pretty fun. I know there's a lot of people that give that Roadhouse movie crap. And listen, it clearly wasn't as good as the original. That's fine. Conor McGregor's ridiculous. That's fine. I still had fun with the movie. I thought it was pretty good. And apparently, it got enough of a response that Amazon has decided to green light a sequel. This comes to us from the folks out of Variety. Their headline, Roadhouse sequel in the works at Amazon starring Jake Gyllenhaal. A sequel to Amazon's Roadhouse movie is in the works with Jake Gyllenhaal reprising his leading role as Dalton. While Amazon is keeping quiet on any other details for now, it still made sure to give the news of the high-profile projects it's due, with Amazon MGM studio chief Jennifer Salke revealing it at the top of its first-ever upfront presentation for advertisers on Tuesday. She said this: "As we saw this spring, the world went crazy for a little movie called Roadhouse," Salke said on stage at Pier 36 venue in New York City. Nearly 8 million viewers globally have watched. That number is actually 80. 80 million global viewers have watched Roadhouse, and we like to watch these results like a baby. All right. So they've greenlit a sequel. And, you know, Rob, you and I were talking before the show started about, can you imagine how many people would have watched it on streaming the week it dropped if it had had a theatrical release first? It would have blown that number away, and they would have made another 100, 150, whatever $million. But, I mean, listen, I like that they're doing a sequel. I thought the character Jake portrayed was really fun. Obviously, Connor will probably be back for the second one. I mean, as ludicrous and ridiculous as I thought he was, other people liked him in it. One of them sitting right over there. Ray seemed to really like Conor McGregor.
Look at him smiling.
He plays the part, man. He plays it really well. Like, that movie, it turned up for me as soon as he appeared on screen. Just because.
I mean, it worked for me right from the opening scene. Despite the fact that they try to convince us that Post Malone was a tough guy. But whatever, aside from that, and no disrespect meant to Post Malone, by the way, no. I'm just saying, I'm glad they're doing another one. I just wonder, Rob, they wouldn't put this one in theaters, would they? I mean, it's hard to put the sequel in theaters when you didn't put the first one in theaters, right?
Dude, you know, we heard that they took the extra $25 million. You could either have it a theatrical release and make it for 60, or we'll give you 85 and it'll go on to streaming. I think, once again, I don't understand how this business works. This is a movie that would have made over $100 million, probably domestically, and even more foreign.
Yeah.
And this would have even covered how I just see these people. I see Amazon. Everyone says, well, Rob, Amazon doesn't need the money. Everybody needs money. I don't care what, to cover whatever expense. This was a crowd-pleasing movie.
Yeah.
This would have been a fun time in the theater. This would have gotten people in the theater because you got the nostalgia bait, and you got new people that are fans of Jake Gyllenhaal from everything from Nightcrawler to Spider-Man. I think it was a mistake not to put this in theaters. It's a hit. Dude, even I mean, I didn't It's not Gone with the Wind. It's not Lawrence of Arabia. It's not Star Wars. But this movie was a thoroughly enjoyable time. And you know what? Like you've always said, and like we've said on the show a million times, if it was in the theater, its profile would have gone up even that much further. And you know what's interesting? Because I interviewed the costume designer on this channel. They did a whole photo shoot, a whole marketing photo shoot. And if you saw them online, they did individual character posters. Those were theatrical character posters. They did a great marketing campaign for this that they didn't use, and they just leave money on the table.
Yeah, well, I mean, it is crazy, and I'm glad they're doing another one. You know, you're talking about all those great iconic movies, and of course, right up there with "Frankly, My Dear, I Don't Give a Damn" or "We Need a Bigger Boat" is now "What's up, fellas?" So that's gonna be right up there with those great lines.
So is this still going to be a streaming release, or is it theatrical?
Well, that's what I mean. I can't imagine them doing a theatrical release to a sequel when the original film went straight to streaming.
Yeah,
I don't think that's ever happened before, has it? I can't think of a situation that's ever happened.
I mean, I just don't understand why people who are now in the film business don't want to make money.
It's not. It's. Look, I'll explain it. Okay.
Okay.
Well, he is our
We're being
resident financial
taken to class
whiz
here.
in real
Let me
life.
explain it.
I mean, you
Let me
know,
explain you the
Matt
joys of
Reeves
not
is a
making
smart man
money.
financially.
Put up the classroom.
More money, more problems. Okay. So
So less money, less problems.
Yeah.
That's how it works.
that's exactly it.
Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? They're doing a Roadhouse 2. I don't care what anybody else says. I'm glad they're doing it. I had fun with the first one. Maybe they can do it for the second one as well. Whatever you guys think, jump down in the comment section below and let us know your particular thoughts. All right. That down. Let's move on to this, shall we? One of my absolute favorite things that have hit TV in the last number of years was The Boys. Admittedly, I was a little bit skeptical about it coming because, I mean, I like the comics. I thought they were really fun, but number one, I didn't think you could possibly translate to the screen. And if you did, I didn't know how well it would translate to the screen. Well, they did. And it's better than the comics. The show that they have made is ripe with deep, heavy, layered philosophy and meaning and introspective, all wrapped in this ludicrous and outrageous wrapper of vulgarity and whatever and violence, but it's such a fantastic package altogether. So then we got season 2, season 3. Season 4 is coming out in about a month. Actually, 1 month exactly from tomorrow.
Bro.
And I'm so stoked for it. And Amazon knows what they've got here because according to the stories here, The Boys has officially been renewed for season 5, even though season 4 hasn't started airing yet. They wrote this. The Boys has been picked up for a 5th season at Amazon Prime Video. Season 4, the raunchy superhero show, will debut on June 13th. The Boys season 4 will launch with its first 3 of 8 total episodes, rolling out the remaining installments on a weekly basis. This has kind of been their standard way of doing it. The finale will stream on July 18th. And then they go on to say, where is it? There. The Boys is an unabashed and bold series that continues to captivate our customers all over the world by piercing the cultural fabric season after season, Amazon MGM studio head of television Vernon Sanders said. We are proud of this series that has grown into a global franchise, and we are thrilled that Eric Kripke, who also, by the way, was the guy behind Supernatural, and the creative team have more engaging stories to tell for all the loyal fans. The trailers for season 4 have been so outrageously good. As we have watched, I mean, seriously, as vulgar as the show is, and as filthy as it is, and as violent and raunchy as it is, you follow Butcher or Homelander or Starlight or Huey from season 1 through the end of season 3 and we're going to season 4. They have laid out fantastic character development paths. We've seen excellent evolution, natural, logical character evolutions with these guys. And it looks like in the trailers for season 4, we're going to get them continuing along those natural story paths that they have. And I've absolutely adored it. And I cannot wait for this season. And you know, Rob, it's sometimes you're getting ahead of yourself. Like the studios will get ahead of themselves sometimes.
Yeah.
But in this situation, they know what they've got. They know how good The Boys is. They know how much the fans love The Boys. They know what the ratings have been, and they know that this season is going to be another banger. So it's actually kind of cool for me as a fan to go into it, because sometimes we go into a new season of a show we like wondering, is this the last season? It's kind of nice going in knowing this is just the next chapter. We're going to get another one after it. So I love this, and I'm not surprised to hear it at all. What did you think of this?
Dude, I'm salivating. I mean, this show, you know what I love about the show? It's really about a bunch of people who are just messed up. They've all got family issues. They've all got mommy issues or daddy issues or both issues. They've got all kinds of issues, and yet they're superheroes with the power of the gods. And it's as interesting as a superhero show as it is a show about interpersonal relations. If you took the superheroes out of it, it would still be compelling. Watching all the drama unfold between Butcher and Homelander and fighting over the son. You know, there's so much great stuff in this show and works on so many different levels. But the fact that it's all about these sadistic, horrible superheroes that can like take your brain out at the drop of a hat. You never know whose innards are going to be splattered against a wall in any episode. And it's so entertaining in so many ways that I am uncomfortable with, that it makes me so much. I love it. I love it. If I ever thought I was a bad person, all I have to do is watch this show and realize I'm not that bad. These people are worse. Much worse.
One of my favorite moments of the past couple of years was me and Chris Carr taking Erin Cummings into my office to show her the scene from The Boys that she hadn't seen yet, where the one guy's power is to shrink down to the tiniest Ant-Man size and crawls in the tip of the guy, and while inside sneezes. It is one, and watching Erin's, first of all, my own reaction the first time I saw it was, oh my God. But watching Erin's reaction to that is like one of the greatest moments I've had doing this job for a long time. It's so good. And yeah, somebody just reminded me in the live chat, we actually recorded her reaction and we put it up on the channel. I'll have to see if I can find it and link it in the description. So good. But yeah, I love this show. I cannot wait for it to come back, and I'm so excited it's getting a season 5. So anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think? Have you been watching The Boys? If so, are you excited they've already greenlit season 5? Maybe you haven't watched it yet. Maybe you have watched it and it's not really your thing. That's understandable. I don't think it's for everybody. Whatever you guys think, jump down into the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to this. Of course, coming very soon, House of the Dragon Season 2. You know, I have no problem saying, while a lot of people were a little bit anxious about what the first season would be, would it live up to the glorious heights of Game of Thrones? Would it, a lot of people didn't like the final season of Game of Thrones. I don't understand what your problem is. I thought it was great, but whatever. A lot of people didn't like it, and that's cool. So a lot of people were kind of worried going into House of the Dragon. It's like, well, what are we going to get? And I have no problem saying that I think season 1 of House of the Dragon was better than season 1 of Game of Thrones. Now, granted, it has the advantage of being building on everything else that Game of Thrones already built. So it had that big advantage, yes. But I thought season 1 was utterly fantastic. I mean, I put it right up there. That, Last of Us, and Shogun are like the best TV I've seen in the past 5 years. It's incredible. We've already had a couple of trailers for season 2. And today they dropped another one. And oh my God. It's so good.
So good.
I am watching every scene and every moment. Because sometimes a trailer for a series will tease 1 or 2 epic moments that are coming up in the upcoming season. I felt like every single thing they showed in this trailer was going to be a jaw-dropping epic moment of the series. Like when, Uncle Dude with the ship shows up, my fleet is yours. Like, when she says, do you acknowledge me as your queen and ruler?
That was great.
When he says, like, what is it? F dignity or whatever it is he said. Like,
I want revenge.
Oh, how about that last shot? As just the last shot where she's standing there and she turns and she's in front of the dragon. I'm like, oh, like, come on. This is pure visual Viagra. Like, this is like unbelievable. I'm like, my muscles are tensing, just counting down for how much longer we have to wait for Game of Thrones or for House of the Dragon season 2 to show up. And here's the other thing. cast a little bit of a shadow on the Rings of Power trailer that dropped today. Now, we didn't make Rings of Power, the trailer dropping today, a topic because we are already full up on topics. And the reality is this Game of Thrones or House of the Dragon trailer is already like the third or fourth trailer, so it's built up. The Rings of Power trailer is the first trailer that dropped. We never get a lot in the first trailer, so we're going to save that for later. But it just kind of seemed like a bukkake to the face of Rings of Power by like waiting till like 30 minutes. Waiting till like
really
30
escalated.
minutes after the Rings of Power trailer drops and go, all right, let's drop the House of the Dragon trailer. It just kind of felt that way. Anyway, Rob, I loved this trailer. You had a chance to see it. What did you think about
Dude,
it?
I watched it 3 times back to back. I loved it. I mean, again, like you know, here's the thing that I really appreciated about House of the Dragon. They knew with the reception of seasons 7 and 8 of Game of Thrones that maybe it wasn't, not for everybody. But this story, they already have the story mapped out, the beginning, the middle, and the end, even though it was done more as more of a historical account as opposed to individual episodes. But they've really spent the time to craft these seasons. And it's apparent, when planning goes into your story, when you know what your beginning, your middle, and your end is, they've said it's going to go 4 seasons. I don't know if it'll go that long, but they know where they're going.
Yeah.
And you can see it was very apparent from this trailer. First of all, epic. I second everything you said. This trailer was so satisfying, and you're like, I can't wait. It already shows you that. What's that line about? But that something from within. It's one thing to
the
be
enemy from without you can fight with swords.
Yes.
The enemy from within is more insidious.
Is more insidious. Like something like that. I'm like, yes, that's exactly right. And driving a wedge, but this just looks like the kind of. I mean, this is first class A1. Lean, mean, dangerous to know. This is the best kind of entertainment, and it looks just. I think this looks like it's going to be better than season 1, which is already an incredibly high bar, which excites the heck out of me.
Yeah.
You guys had a chance to watch the trailer today. What do you guys think about it?
I like everything except the rats in it.
There were rats?
Yep. Bunch of rats in that other house.
Oh, jeez.
He's like, had a rat.
Team Black, baby, all the way.
Team Black, baby.
I listen, I'm not saying who anybody should pick, and I'm not saying they're not out there. I'm just saying I don't personally know anybody that's Team Green. Like everybody that I know is Team Black.
I mean, Alice is a redhead. She's just my style, but I'm like, no,
Yeah.
not even on your team, baby. I'm sorry. No.
Full of rats.
All them rats. So here's my question, Ray.
Yeah.
Your favorite guy.
Yeah.
Your prince.
I'm scared of this trailer. He seems to be.
Well, he's always been a little power hungry, but my question is, what's going to happen if after she asks him, do you acknowledge me as your queen and your ruler? Because at the moment silence, is he going to bend the knee? Is he going to acknowledge her? Or is he going to say, nah?
I'm not worried about that part. I'm worried about the guy with the eye patch.
Oh, his nephew.
I think it's going to come down to those two. And oh man, I hope he doesn't die this season. Who knows? But you know what? You asked me a question. I think he will. Just because it's her.
You know what? I think you're right. I think they're setting it up to make us think he won't, but I think he will. I mean, at the end of the day, listen, as kind of messed up as Damon has been in the show, right? When it really, at least in season 1, every time that it's really come down to it,
He's shown his loyalty.
it's family.
Right.
Right? Whenever it's ultimately come down to it, he's kind of messed up. He'll do some real questionable things. But when it comes right down to it, the rubber meets the road, he's loyal to family. Now, that doesn't mean it's always going to be that way. Yeah. So I don't know, man. I just, this looks so good. I cannot wait. Question is for you guys. Did you have a chance to see the new trailer for House of the Dragon? If not, I highly encourage you, as soon as the John Campea show is over, run over and find it and watch it because it's a spectacle to behold. All right. With that down, guys, we still got to talk about there's another new bundle coming for streamers. A cheaper price for Netflix, Apple TV Plus, and Peacock all together in one bundle. Also, the first reactions for Ryan Reynolds' new film, If, are out, and they're looking really good. And Nicolas Cage is going to star in a live-action Spider-Man noir film. But before we get to that, we're going to take a quick second and thank one of the sponsors of today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast, our friends at Miracle Made. Guys, we want to take a second and thank a sponsor of today's video, Miracle Made. Did you know that your temperature at night can have one of the greatest impacts on your sleep quality? If you wake up too hot or too cold, I highly recommend you check out Miracle Made's bed sheets. Inspired by NASA, Miracle Made uses silver-infused fabrics and makes temperature-regulating bedding so that you can sleep at the perfect temperature all night long. When they arrived at our house, my wife Ann loved the feel of them so much, she couldn't even wait for me to get home to put them on our bed. Miracle Made has self-cleaning. These sheets are infused with silver that prevents up to 99.7% of bacterial growth, leaving them to stay cleaner and fresh 3 times longer than other sheets. Miracle Sheets also have incredible comfort and quality. Miracle Sheets are luxuriously comfortable without the high price tag of other luxury brands and feel as nice, if not nicer, than sheets used by some 5-star hotels. So go to TryMiracle, that's TryMiracle.com/Campea to try Miracle Made sheets today. And whether you're buying them for yourself or as a gift for a loved one, if you order today, you can save over 40%. And if you use our promo code Campea at checkout, you'll get 3 free towels and save an extra 20%. Miracle is so confident in their product, it's backed with a 30-day money-back guarantee. So if you aren't 100% satisfied, you will get a full refund. So upgrade your sleep with Miracle Made. Go to TryMiracle.com/Campea and use the code Campea to claim your free 3-piece towel set and save over 40% off. Again, that's TryMiracle.com/Campea to treat yourself. And thank you to our friends at Miracle Made for sponsoring today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast. All right, guys, with that down, let's get on to this, shall we? You know, last week, huge thing where we had Disney Plus and Warner Brothers came out to announce that they were going to offer a bundled package of Disney Plus, Hulu, and Max all together into one package that they say will be at a considerable discount than if you just subscribe to each one of them individually. Now, they didn't announce a price, an actual price point yet, but they said we're going to get that a little bit later in the summer. And, you know, we all said on this show, ain't gonna be long, ain't gonna be long until we hear about other bundles coming. Well, it didn't take long at all. Because in Variety today, they're writing that the internet service provider and cable network, or cable provider, Comcast, is launching a Peacock, Netflix, and Apple TV bundle at what they are calling a vastly reduced price. This comes to us from Variety, who say, get ready for the next cable-like streaming bundle. Comcast, later this month, will launch a 3-way bundle with Peacock, Netflix, and Apple TV Plus, offered at a deep discount, Comcast chief Brian Roberts said. Dubbed Stream Saver, that's a terrible name. The bundle will be available to all Comcast broadband and TV customers, Roberts said, speaking Tuesday at Moffett-Nathanson's 2024 Media, Internet, and Communications Conference in New York. The 3 streaming services, Peacock, Netflix, and Apple TV Plus, will come at a vastly reduced price to anything in the market today, Roberts said, although he didn't reveal any pricing details. Okay. We are now entering into that phase of the streaming wars that we all you guys at home, us here on the show, we've all said for a while will be the next logical progression, which is bundling. The one big complaint that a lot of people have about their streaming services is like, oh, look, I'm now spending more on my streaming services than I ever did on cable before. The bundles are going to start to help that. Maybe, you know, obviously this works out really good for the streamers because if you're bundled in with other streaming services, it reduces the chance that you'll unsubscribe when your favorite show is done to only resubscribe later, also known as churn. That's what the streamers are really trying to fight against, is churn. The downside of this particular deal is that you got to be a Comcast customer. Either their internet service provider, which you don't get to choose if they're your internet service provider. Of course, America is a country that operates like the mob. They divide up territory like the mob does and says, okay, this territory is what, you know, Verizon's internet territory, and you don't actually have a choice. I live in an area where I can only have Spectrum, and Spectrum sucks. But Spectrum is my internet service provider, and that's all I got. I have no other choice. I can't sign up with anybody else. So you got to be lucky enough to live in an area where Comcast is your service provider or they're your cable provider, and you will be able to get this bundle deal. Which, it's hard to know, Rob, how excited to get about this Disney Hulu Max one and this Netflix Apple TV Peacock one when we don't actually know a price yet. Okay, you keep saying deep discount, vastly less expensive. Okay. But what does that mean? Because if I'm paying $40, I'm just pulling a number out of my ass right now. But if I'm paying, let's say 30, let's say I'm paying $30 right now for Netflix, Peacock, and Apple TV Plus. All right, is this new bundle going to be $18 or is it going to be $28? Ooh, $2. Like what does that mean? Because I'll tell you what, if it's like $18, that is a significant savings. That's a pretty damn good deal. If I can get Disney Plus, Hulu, and Max for like $20, that's a freaking deal. Like I'm on board. So it'll all depend on what this is. Rob, I think this is happening even faster than we thought it would, but we're seeing these bundles. How do you think this one with a Netflix, a Peacock, and Apple TV Plus measure up?
Look, I mean, I think it's up in the air. I mean, I don't know how this is all going to play out, but it seems, going back to the cable days, whatever. But as long as I can save money, I'm all for it. As long as, here's what I want, John. I want to save money and I want all the functionality. I want it in 4K. I want it in Dolby Vision. I want to get the best. I don't want to have it choked off because some of these services, you have to pay more of a premium to get that 4K.
Yeah, particularly Netflix.
Absolutely. And I just want, I want to have it the best it can be for the cheapest price, whatever that's going to be. And if you're going to bundle these things together, great. I think it's great. But now I just wonder, this business model, it's so weird to watch these streamers have these streaming wars and then sort of veer back to the old cable model. It's a funny thing to watch, and yet they won't put their movies out theatrically. I don't know what they're trying to do overall, but as long as I can save money, I'll do it.
But here's the question I have, though. Here's the more insidious side of it.
Yeah, here I know.
All right. Look at the money you're gonna save. Okay, Comcast, thank you. Oh, by the way, we're raising your internet bill by 20 more bucks a month. Oh. See, that's where, and I'm not saying that's what Comcast is going to do.
No, but you're absolutely right.
But like I say, Comcast comes out, hey, everybody, look, you get this great streaming deal. Why they stab you in the ass. They get your attention over here. Look at this great streaming deal, and then sneak up behind you, stab you in the ass with a fork, and say, we're going to charge you now more for your internet.
100%. I mean, the internet, I think internet is exorbitantly expensive. I mean, my business line is unbelievably expensive so I can have the fastest upload and download speeds. Now I get it, but they've built this infrastructure and they're going to squeeze us to give it every last drop they can. And I think you're absolutely right. And you know what? We'll be like, oh yes, please up my internet service, $10 a month, $20 a month, $29.95 a month. I'll happily do it because I get Apple bundled together with how many other streaming platforms?
See, that's the advantage of the Disney Hulu Max one, is that it's not only tied to one internet provider. And by the way, this is, again, I know I'm already been preaching on this a lot. This is another example about why the United States needs to break up this mob-like cartel that these internet service providers have, where they all have territory. Because here's the thing, in American economy, competition is supposed to breed innovation and be good for the customer. I have no choices.
I don't either.
Right.
Where I live, where Rob lives, we have no choices. You want high-speed internet? Here's the only choice you have. You see, if I lived in a neighborhood where I had the option and the choice to either have Spectrum or Verizon fiber or an AT&T fiber or whatever, and I had the choice, now they got to fight it out to compete for my dollar. That would make all of this a lot more doable, I would say. So forgive me for being pessimistic about the motivations of Comcast, but I'm pessimistic of the motivations of Comcast. But I'll tell you this, in theory, if I could get one bundle of Disney, Hulu, and Max for, say, $25 a month, and I could get another bundle of Netflix, Apple TV Plus, which is amazing, by the way, Apple TV Plus, and Peacock, which I watch more than I think I even realize, for $25. And for $50, I could have all of those streamers. That's pretty damn good. I'd be all for that. They just got to break it. I just wish it wasn't connected to a specific internet provider, because they're going to find a way to screw us. So I don't know, guys. Question is for you. What do you think? about this. I love that we're starting to head towards the bundles. I'm really excited about the Disney Plus Hulu Max one. I'm not a Comcast customer, so I'm not going to be able to take advantage of this other one. But how do you feel about it? Are we at least heading in the right direction? Or is this all inevitably just heading to the same thing that we're going to end up getting screwed? Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to this. One of the more interesting films that's to come out lately is this little movie starring Ryan Reynolds known as If, Imaginary Friends. What is truly even more interesting about it, though, is that it's written and directed by John Krasinski, the guy who did Quiet Place. Of course, you know, he's everybody's favorite right now and the only Mr. Fantastic. But, you know, was it going to be any good? I think the trailers have been good. None of the trailers, other than the Asian Jim trailer that they did, which is one of the greatest pieces of movie marketing in history. The basic trailers for If have been good, but they haven't really done anything to make me super excited for it. So I was very interested in finding out that the first reactions have dropped. I've got my tickets for later this week, and the first reactions are fantastic. Check this out. This comes to us from Yahoo News. Quoting some people, Matt Rogers wrote, John Krasinski has created something really quite wonderful with If, a movie I would have loved as a kid, but adore as a grown-up. Kaylee Fleming is phenomenal, and it's peppered with so many joyous moments. Giacchino's score is beautiful, is a beauty too. It left me glowing. Sophia Soto writes, what can I say about If? Well, I didn't expect to cry that much. It hits you in the feels in the best way. There's big heart and lots of laughs. It's like a big hug from your childhood, courtesy of John Krasinski and Ryan Reynolds, Kaylee Fleming, and everyone else involved. Mama's Geeky writes, If starts off as a super cute kids movie before proceeding to deliver a wave of emotions to all the adults watching. Ultimately, this film is about healing yourself. The imaginary friends are all unique and fun. After all, everyone wants to have someone in their corner. Venom Maniacs writes, John Krasinski, what a director. If is a beautiful story that takes you through the eyes of children and adults alike to explore the theme of childhood and its importance. A hilarious film that will no doubt leave you in tears. Guys.
Dang.
Guys. There's stuff in here. I was expecting to hear, you know, whimsical and the funny parts, hilarious, and I was expecting to hear that. I didn't expect to cry as much. Emotionally moving for adults. It'll leave you feeling and blah blah. Listen, I've not seen the movie. I don't want to get overly excited based on a few reactions, but all the other ones I read were exactly along these lines. They were all exactly along these lines. This might actually be one of these rare movies that ends up being much better than it looks. Because it looks okay.
Yeah.
It looks okay. You got John Krasinski, good Canadian kid Ryan Reynolds. Looks pretty good. But everything we're hearing is that it's a truly special movie. And I am now very excited for this Thursday. That's when I got my tickets. Anyway, Rob, you're hearing these reactions. Where has your kind of expectation level been for this, and does this move the needle for you?
Well, you know, Krasinski proved his chops with A Quiet Place.
Yes, so good.
And I think that what's really interesting to me is that it doesn't surprise me this movie's as good because he wrote and directed it as well. He's one of these people that I think that the future of the entertainment business, if you look at him and Ryan Reynolds, they've been carving their own path. Yeah. I mean, Krasinski made his bones really on The Office, but going on and doing things like Jack Ryan for 4 seasons, doing this, he's his own man, teaming up with Ryan Reynolds, who's now become one of the great entrepreneurs in Hollywood, but also is delivering the goods when it comes to making movies and TV. I mean, who would have thought between football, English, you know, regular real football, who would have thought that somebody could have turned a documentary series about a mid-level British soccer team,
lower than mid-level,
lower than mid-level, and turn it into what he's done. I didn't want to offend anyone, but it's amazing, and to see these guys team up and deliver something along these lines is not surprising to me, but it's more inspirational than anything else. I can't wait to see this. I mean, maybe this is this generation's E.T. You know, it's funny because I was watching this thing the other day talking about how E.T. no longer has any kind of cultural footprint anymore. And I was like, really? Because it was huge when it came out. But I got to thinking like, well, maybe it's gone. Maybe it is gone. And then this comes along, and reading these kinds of reactions, it sounds like the reactions people gave to E.T. that weren't expecting much. It kind of, nobody knew what E.T. was, and then it hit like a bomb, and everyone saw it, and everyone loved it. Maybe that's what's going to happen with this.
I'm curious, Jonathan, like you live in a household, with a bunch of girls. Like, has there been any chatter, talk, buzz in your house? Has there been an excitement level for this movie at all?
I really haven't heard much, honestly. And I feel like maybe that's to the marketing, because I really haven't even seen much marketing. I've been much more aware of Garfield than this, you know?
Yeah.
And they've already made like a date with all their friends. They're going to go see like Garfield. Like,
Who would have thought
opening weekend.
Garfield is this thing?
Oh, I know.
And it's such an old like IP, you know? But I mean, I know that once these reviews come out and they start to see more trailers, they're going to jump on because they like Ryan Reynolds and all that. So, yeah.
Dude, Ryan Reynolds, that guy can do no wrong.
I'll tell you what, I'm trying to think about what I can and can't say. I'll say this. There are a lot of things about Ryan Reynolds that really impress me as a good Canadian kid, right? You know, obviously, Ann and I are watching Welcome to Wrexham. Season 3 is out right now, and it's so good already. And obviously, his movie work and everything. But, you know, there was this great article that I read in an English trade the other day where, like, the coach of their biggest rival, of Wrexham biggest rival.
Oh, I read that.
Do you read about this?
Yeah.
The coaches did this article. Say this isn't in Welcome to Wrexham or anything. The coach of their biggest rival just said, like, they had this heated rivalry down the wire, all this kind of stuff. And Ryan Reynolds calls the coach of this other rival team and just tell them how great they are and that they're cheering for them and they can't wait. They hope they move up and get promoted as well. And he just said, like, you just don't expect stuff like this in the league, you know, but like these guys are real. I don't know how anybody doesn't cheer for Ryan Reynolds. I just don't get it. He's the new Tom Hanks.
But even beyond that, remember, I love gin. And he sold, I mean, Aviation Gin is a good gin. I know he sold it and made, I mean, his entrepreneurial spirit. And isn't he getting into another sports team as well?
Well, yeah, him and Rob McElhenney have bought into like an ownership share of a Mexican soccer team, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I love what he's doing. And look, he understands himself. He understands his entertainment value, and he's been in the business. I mean, go back to what was it? He played, you know, the kid from college. The movie
Van
Wilder.
Van Wilder.
Remember that?
Yeah.
That was like 25 years ago or something. And even then, you could tell this guy has got it. He has that it thing. I mean, the fact that he's married to Blake Lively, you know, the age of Adeline will never cease to amaze me. I mean, they got kids. He got Hugh Jackman to come back to play Wolverine, even though Kevin Feige said not to play Wolverine again. I mean, this guy knows what's up. Dude.
By the way, just for full disclosure, because since you brought up the Aviation Gin, full disclosure,
You never really drank any.
Reynolds asked me once, "Do you want some of the Aviation Gin?"
I know.
I said, "Sure," thinking he's going to send me a coupon or something. And he said, "Give me your address." Give him the address. All right. About a week later, we come home. Ann and I come home one day, and there's a crate on our front porch with cases of Aviation Gin.
Then we don't remember anything else.
And then none of us remember anything else after that.
It's actually a really good gin.
We were handing out bottles of Aviation Gin like Halloween candy.
That's how I got hired. He woke up the next day. He's like, "What the hell are you doing here?" I'm like, "You hired me."
Don't you remember?
Give me some gin.
Don't you remember? You hired me. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? Maybe you've been like me and you thought, the trailers for it have been okay. I'm sure it'll be a nice little film. But these reactions sound like way beyond what I've been expecting. What do you guys think about this? Are you excited about it? My excitement level's getting higher. Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to this, shall we? Back in February, there had been a little report going around that Amazon may be looking at doing a live action Spider-Man Noir series. Now, of course, in Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, Spider-Man Noir was voiced by Nick Cage, and there was no word of Nick Cage being involved at all whatsoever. Well, today, out of nowhere, news comes that not only have they now officially greenlit the series, but Nicolas Cage himself is going to be playing Spider-Man Noir. The headline on Variety reads, Nicolas Cage to star in Spider-Man Noir live action series at MGM Plus and Amazon Prime Video. They wrote, Nicolas Cage will once again play Spider-Man Noir, but this time in a live action series. Cage is set to star in the live action show Noir, which has been ordered to series at MGM Plus and Amazon Prime Video. The series will debut domestically on MGM Plus's linear channel, followed by a global launch on Prime Video. Variety exclusively reported the series was in development in February of 2023. So that's not just this past February, it was last February. Though Cage was not yet attached to appear at that time. Now, they describe it a little bit. Let me see where the description is. The show hails from Orzel. No, that's not it. We are absolutely gonna... Anyway, I lost where they actually described it. It was in
Spider-Man Noir.
Remember, it was in there somewhere. Big, long article. But they go on to say it's going to be set in like the 1930s.
Yeah.
About a down-and-out private investigator who's trying to wrestle about his former life as the city's only superhero. And listen, I'm going to be honest with you. I don't know how you do this live action. I really don't. Obviously, it's probably going to be in black and white. I think it's going to be a real challenge. It's going to be a big production thing, but sign me up. Nicolas Cage is Spider-Man Noir. Dude. I'm so down for this. I'm surprised it's getting done. I'm surprised it's going to be live action. Anyway, Rob, you heard about this. What do you think about it?
Dude, like you, sign me up. I mean, I love this. If they did it black and white, the fact that I'm working on a noir project right now in the 30s, I love this milieu. I love this setting. I think this is fantastic. Not only that, it means Hot Toys is going to make a figure.
Oh, I'm sure they will.
Yeah, which is, I mean, come on.
But listen, I'm bringing up, I worry that they're not going to be able, like, how do you do this live action? Like, do you have any worries about that? Like, how do you think they're going to approach this visually?
You know, maybe they'll go, I think if they do take a page from whether it's Sin City or whether it's, Across the Spider-Verse, I think that they could apply, if they used some cutting edge techniques, they could do some really dynamic visual things using the volume stages, maybe they'll try and do what they did in animation for live action, which could be quite great. And, the thing about Nicolas Cage is we know he loves comic books and we know he's a huge superhero fan.
Very well.
He was great as Big Daddy and, of course, Kick-Ass. And I think that this is, I mean.
He was almost Superman.
He was almost Superman. He will love doing this. And I think the milieu is going to be great for him, too. I could just see his voiceover, as the 30s private eye.
Yeah, I mean, very rarely do we... Although we get questions a lot, like, do you think the person who did the voice of this character should do the live action? And typically we're like, no. But when the person who's voicing it is Nicolas Cage,
yes.
You say yes.
Yeah, when you get a literal Hollywood screen legend doing the voice, then yes, you can.
If so Nicolas Cage asked to be a superhero, you say yes.
But do they do this show like a Flash? Or like a Green Arrow?
No.
Do they do it more like, say, a cinematic comparison might be Sin City? Something like that. Because budget's got to be one of the considerations here too, right? And I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see how they do this. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? Nicolas Cage is going to be Spider-Man Noir in a live action series. It's officially greenlit. It's happening. No timeline has been given that I could find. So whatever you guys think about this, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. Now I'm going to let you know something. We were going to do another topic today. We were going to be ranking the 25 most likely cameos coming up in Deadpool and Wolverine. We had it all set, but then a whole bunch of news stories dropped and we just realized we don't have time to do it. So we are going to do our ranking of all 25 most possible cameos for Wolverine and Deadpool and Wolverine tomorrow. Okay, yeah. So we're going to do that on tomorrow's show. There was just way too much news dropping today. So we're going to cover that tomorrow. But for now, we're going to get to the most important part of our show, which is taking your questions that you guys have sent in. But before we get to that, we're going to take another quick moment here and thank another sponsor of today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast, our friends at Cuts Clothing. Guys, we want to take a second to thank a sponsor of today's video, Cuts Clothing. Let's be real. Most guys would wear a t-shirt every day of their lives if we could. The problem is that most t-shirts are not acceptable to wear at work or out on a hot date. Today's sponsor, Cuts, has finally changed that. Cuts t-shirts are such high quality, wrinkle-free, and so buttery soft that you can look like you're dressing up even when you're dressing down. Yeah, you heard that right. They are wrinkle-free. And for a limited time, you can save money while redefining the dress code by heading to cutsclothing.com and use the code Campea for 20% off. Guys, you know me, when it comes to clothing, my number one priority is comfort, and I could not believe just how comfortable my Cuts shirt was. It was light, it breathed, it felt like $1 million, and it made me feel like I looked like $1 million too. And the best part? Cuts Clothing is built to last. Their durable construction means you'll be enjoying your favorite shirts and pants for years to come, making them a smart investment for your wardrobe. So guys, for a limited time, our listeners get 20% off your entire order when you use the code Campea at checkout. That's 20% off your order at cutsclothing.com with the promo code Campea. Please support our show by telling them that the John Campea Show sent you. Experience the perfect blend of style and comfort with Cuts Clothing. And thank you to our friends at Cuts Clothing for sponsoring today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast. All right, guys, with that all down, let's get on to the live questions here, shall we? Jonathan, what we got up first?
Cody Hunt with a two-parter. My Grams called me and told me she stumbled upon a movie called John Wick. She said, I'm glad he did it, but he killed a lot of people for that dog. I said, Grandma, here's 3 other movies in that franchise, and a lot more people die because of that dog. Believe me, she's thrilled.
I've said this before, but I do want to bring it up
Grandmas
again.
love John Wick.
John Wick, the killing of the puppy, all right, is one of the most brilliant cinematic devices ever made. And I'll tell you why. Because in making this movie, they knew they were making a movie about a very, very violent man. In many ways, it's Unforgiven, right? It's a hyper violent man, a man who lived in sin. It's a very violent man who did horrible, horrible things, who because of the love of a woman decided to change his life and now is being drawn back in, right? And they knew that we were going to have this guy cancel the subscription to life of a lot of people. He was going to murder a lot of people.
They deserved it.
Maybe, but even when they deserve it, right? You got to emotionally get the audience completely on board. Not just completely on board, but want it. Like every horrible thing that this character is going to do has got to be something that the audience is yearning for them to do. How do you do it? They insulted the memory of my wife? No, let's going to do it. You know what we do? Let's bring in a puppy. An adorable, precious as the clean-driven winter snow, little beagle puppy. I think it was a beagle puppy. Yeah. The most precious, pure thing of joy and innocence you can imagine. And then let's have the bad guys kill it. There is nothing, I contend, that they could have done that got the audience more on board with the idea of a vengeful, murderous rampage than that. Because as soon as that does it, them effers gotta die. And that was everybody in the audience, and I'm sure it was your grandmother too. They all gotta die. They gotta die. It was absolutely brilliant. I mean, I hate it, but it's absolutely brilliant.
I agree with you. I mean, it was such a, and you know what's really interesting about that movie? What I love about how the script of John Wick is how it slowly unfolds. You know, because they don't, and they show you the world, like the guy that comes to clean his house.
Yeah.
Like, hey, John, or the cop too. Like, hey, John, like everybody knows. And the look, the puppy signifies the puppy and the wife who died is like the pure as the driven snow. You can't get more pure than that in terms of motivation, even though the world that you're talking about is one step away from hell. All of these assassins. And it was such a great, that movie, I felt kind of the way I felt when I saw Terminator in the theater. I'm like, this is a B movie, but it's done with such verve and wit. It's so awesome that it's as good as any other movie you're going to see. And I felt that way about John Wick. It might not be some Oscar bait film, but for what it is, that first movie kills.
Literally.
Somebody once asked me, somebody, I think in the live chat said, imagine if it was a cat. If it was a cat, the movie would have been 5 minutes long. Because John Wick would have come out in the morning, saw the dead cat and gone, eh.
Why do you guys ask this stuff?
I love cats.
Listen, if you guys keep prodding him about cats and pissing me off, I'm going to start banning you guys. I have the power.
Whatever, it was a cat. But a puppy. A puppy. All right. What's next?
All right.
I have 9 of them.
Jeez. Okay. Edward Wells gives us some support there. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Edward.
And then Chubbs GPT. I don't know why it makes me look. Chubbs GPT. RE cameos, Chris Evans and Michael BJ's Human Torch.
Again, we will go over that tomorrow. They may or may not already be on the list. All right. What's next?
Right. Sam Fisher says, I'm all for a 30s 40s noir series. In fact, issue 19 of the current FF run made me want a noir series about a blind detective and her gentle giant husband.
Who I believe she's the puppet master's stepdaughter. I think that's what anyway, long and short of it. Yeah, listen, there's some really interesting things you can do. Again, I'm going to be very curious about the approach they have to it. Will it be a Sin City approach? Will it be more of a narrative, regular kind of narrative storytelling, like an Arrowverse or a Daredevil kind of story? It'll be interesting to see, but I am looking forward to it. All right, what's next?
Okay, we got, let me scroll down. Dwayne Fernandez, who says, both Rings of Power and House of the Dragon trailers dropped today. I wonder if HBO had this trailer ready to go and was just waiting on Amazon to drop first.
The right attitude is that of, what's the name of the guy who wrote Game of Thrones again?
George R. R. Martin.
George R. R. Martin. I remember last year, George R. R. Martin put it best the way fans should actually be looking at this. Because somebody said to me, the competition with Lord, and George R. R. Martin said, competition? He goes, this is a glorious time to be a fantasy fan. How good is it? He said that we get to have like a Lord of the Rings thing, a Game of Thrones thing all coming out. This should be, we should all be excited and think this is great. And I agree with them. I do totally agree with them. And I was talking with somebody before the show started in the live chat, before the show went live, saying, the House of the Dragon trailer feels epic and huge, and the Rings of Power are just, not a lot of dialogue, whatever. I said, yeah, but you got to remember, this is like the 4th House of the Dragon trailer, whereas the Rings of Power is just the first little tease that they've put out. So keep that in mind. Listen, House of the Dragon is clearly the better show. That's a subjective opinion. You may disagree, and that's fine. But to me, House of the Dragon is clearly the better show. But I'm still holding out a lot of hope that with Rings of Power, they will go back, find the things that worked in the first season. And there are a number of things that did work in the first season. Identify the things that did not work, because there was a lot of that, and improve those and fix those and give it, because the potential, Rob, the potential for that Rings of Power show is huge if they can do it right. You got any hope that we're going to see a better outing in season 2 than we did in season 1?
Not much. I mean, only because, look, the thing about House of the Dragon is you have the man who created this universe as co-creator of House of the Dragon. So, he's there and helped shape it. Whereas I feel that my problem with Rings of Power is it was conceived of as, in a way, kind of a cash grab, where they were hamstrung from the get-go because they couldn't use a lot of the material that would have informed the show that the creator created, whether it was the Silmarillion or whether it was the Lost Tales or Beren and Luthien and all that stuff. They weren't able to access that. So they couldn't help but disappoint people that loved that franchise or had read Tolkien. Whereas I think the other direction is you've got the creator involved and it can only be better. Also, I think that the people that are making the show know you have the 8 years of Game of Thrones, the good and the bad, to show them how to make a great Game of Thrones show.
Right.
And that's a big advantage in TV.
All right, what's next?
We got Murray Reich, who says, saw Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes and really enjoyed it. What I liked most about it was the beautiful score. Thought maybe a few scenes dragged or could have been cut out. Favorite character was Rocca. Funny.
Rocca's a great character.
Great character.
Rocca was a really, really good character. And I hope we see more of him. I'm going to hold out hope that we're going to see more of Rocca, voiced by the same actor who does Bortus on the Orville, by the way.
So good.
Yeah, and you're right. The score in it is great. I loved this movie. Again, to me, second best of the Caesar saga of films that we've had. I still think Dawn is the best one, but I really loved it. All right, what's next?
The Batman with a $50 super chat.
Wow, thank you, the Batman.
Spider-Man is my long-hated rival. However, even I must admit that this Noir series has a potential to give us a vastly different take on the character and world, being set in the 1930s, different times, World War II stories. Well, that would be the 40s, but yeah, and an older, more hardened Spider-Man.
The whole concept, the way they described an aging private detective, the down on his luck, but also struggling with who he used to be. So clearly he was the Spider-Man of that world in one lifetime, retired from it, became a private detective, maybe decided that I'm going to try to help my city as just a regular man. Like, what did he say? Did he ever say what his name was in Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse? Like, the robot one was Penny Parker.
Yeah,
and there was Peter J. Parker or whatever. Can't remember. Let's just say its name is Peter Parker's too. I'm going to help the world as Peter Parker, not as Spider-Man or whatever. And something draws him back in. I think
Peter
there's a
Benjamin
lot.
Parker.
Peter Benjamin Parker. I think there's a lot of potential for this. Sorry, his uncle was Uncle Benjamin. All right, what's next?
Okay, Batman's back with another 50.
Wow, thank you, man. That's
He is
amazing.
Batman.
He really is Bruce Wayne.
Yep.
If it was me making this Noir series, I would use the look of Sin City and adopt to a degree the character from the Darkman franchise. Yeah, with a dash of detective story telling from my very own film, The Batman.
Well, I mean, look, the whole fact, this is part of the thing that intrigues me. I'm glad you brought this up, is the fact that I'm excited about the detective aspect. I'm a sucker for whodunit films. I'm a total sucker for them. I love whodunits, and like to follow along. It was one of the reasons why I really actually kind of enjoyed the Batman so much, because they actually dove more into the detective of the Batman, and the very fact that he is a private investigator. This to me is exciting and opens up a lot of things. And we were bringing it up before, Rob, the idea that maybe you go with a visual style of like Sin City, maybe even, we don't like to bring it up, but The Spirit, even though that movie was horrible, but maybe they could go kind of a visually in that sort of direction, a panel by panel comic book thing, or a mixture of the two. I don't know about the Darkman comparisons. I did like that original Darkman though. Yeah, that was pretty good. All right, what's next?
Louis says, what was your worst movie theater experience? Mine was when a kid threw up in the last 20 minutes of the movie Disney Wish, and it smelled. Is
there anything worse than the smell of vomit?
No.
It's awful. I've told the story, so I'll just give it a quick. A few friends of mine and I went to go see the Jim Carrey movie, The Number 26.
Oh, right.
Or the number, whatever it is. It was the number 18, the number 41. I can't remember what the number was, but the movie was called The Number something something. The number 23, says Dat Dude Vince in the live chat. And we had, and I'm not trying to draw a stereotype. Most times I go to the movies and there's a pack of teenage girls go to see the movies. They're there just to have a good time and they're great moviegoers. But this one particular time, we went and we had these 4 or 5 teenage girls sitting behind us that would not shut the fuck up. To the point that like my buddy who I was with literally turned around and like yelled at them.
I did that. I did that same thing. It was the Alamo. Disney's the Alamo. So they're going back a ways. Wow. And it was,
you had to yell at someone in the Alamo?
So bad of them just laughing out loud and just talking really loud at each other that at one point I just stood up and said, "Shut Ah!
See, I don't mind the laughing really loud.
But they were laughing at conversations they were
Oh,
having.
yeah,
They were
see that-
nothing to-
oh,
they're like, and then he did this. We're like, oh my
Shut
god.
Oh, that drives me crazy. All right, what's next?
Unless you're laughing at my jokes, be quiet. Ryan Burrows with some support.
Thank you, Ryan.
Cody Hunt says, a friend of mine watched all the new Apes movies yesterday, and he believes War is the best out of the trilogy. He thought Caesar's Ark was best in War.
Well, I know some people think Godfather 3 is the best of the Godfather movies. I mean, it's all right. But listen, the key thing is, one of the great things when a new movie in a franchise comes out is that it gives the opportunity for people who haven't started watching that franchise yet to go back and get caught up and start watching them. And that's one of the exciting things about it. And I'm glad they did. All right, what's next?
Let's see. Christopher Brigner. I agree that you can't adapt all Silmarillion. I think it's possible to take a section of the book and adapt it, like what House of the Dragon does.
Yeah, I mean, there are definitely portions because the Silmarillion covers a lot.
Yep.
And it's often very disjointed, and it's just a lot of lore and a lot of songs and a lot of, I mean, it's a lot. You can't really do, you can't really just take that book and turn it into a movie without it just being a horrible mess.
Yeah.
Right. I think you're right. You probably could take parts of it and adapt it, but I don't know if that would be ultimately very satisfying to a lot of people because it is very, I call flighty fantasy, talking about basically in layman's terms, formation of the gods and like how things came over that I just don't know feels as boots to the ground as hobbits living in the Shire. You know,
I think that the Lord of the Rings did it great in the scene where you see the shards of the sword. And then you have kind of a mural in the background.
Yep.
So you could have a scene like that where there's a mural of like the beginnings of like singing into creation, like the earth or the planets, you know, and stuff like in the background. And maybe like it's a segment of that is part of a conversation that has to do with what is happening now. But, you know.
But, you know, I mean, there are things in the first Rings of Power, like the Rube Goldbergian device that creates Mordor in a day.
Yes.
Yeah.
When I'm watching something like that, I'm like, in what universe does that make any sense? Like somebody put that device in place. They already knew that when you turn this switch, this is going to happen. The engineering
Yes, Rob.
feat-
Yes.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I watch it, I'm like, give me a break. And I tune out because no universe does that make any sense.
That's how I feel about the mutant collars in X-Men 97 and other X-Men things. It's like, you don't just have something that you can turn off a gene. And even if you did turn off a gene, it doesn't change your entire DNA to like your horns disappear. Like it's just so ridiculous.
I totally agree. And that's a shortcut that doesn't work.
Yes. It's a cop-out shortcut. It's like it's a plot. It's a very, very bad plot device.
And with the rest of the writing, it seems incongruous because the writing's been pretty great. Except that thing you're looking at it going, come on, man.
All right. What's next?
Cody Hunt says, finally watched Three Body Problem. Terrific season.
It is I was very impressed with it. It was much better than I was expecting. I had a good time with it. All right, what's next?
Ryan Bro says, I like Alexander Skarsgård for Doom. Thoughts?
Listen, he's great for Doom in the sense that the most important part is for them to get a great actor. Alexander Skarsgård is a great actor. Do I see him as Doom? No. But I would be very happy if they cast him because he's a great actor.
You're going to cover up that face? Come on.
Yeah, but would you really want to cover up? I could see him as about 15 other characters a lot quicker than I could see him as Doom. But again, if they announced him as Doom, I'd be totally for it. All right, what's next?
Suthia says, in the original 60s, 70s Apes movies, the orangutans are the scholar class apes. Very cool to see the beginnings of that with Maurice and now with Raka.
Yep.
I thought Raka was Maurice when I saw the trailers.
So did my wife. My wife thought this is the same guy from the other ones, right? It's like, no, honey, this is like 400 years later.
Yeah.
But he does look just like him and all that kind of stuff. I love the character too. This is not a spoiler because they released this clip online as part of their marketing before the movie came out. But that scene where like Noah's like, she spoke, I think you misheard. And she goes, I have a name. And then his reaction when he's just like, is gold.
Yeah.
I love the character, and I really hope we do get to see him return. All right, what's next?
Suthius again. While I thoroughly enjoyed Kingdom, I kind of wish we got to know more of Proximus' right-hand apes, the gorilla, Silva, the other bonobo, lightning.
Unnecessary. Listen, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes is a long movie. And while I was very interested, particularly in the gorilla, like the gorilla was awesome. Reminded me a lot of the one voiced by Michael Clark Duncan in the Tim Burton Kingdom of the Planet or Planet of the Apes movie. But like I was like fascinated by them, but it would have served no purpose to just have more time with them. They didn't have what you would call pivotal roles in the film. It was already a very long movie. And did I like those characters? Yes, but should they have spent even more screen time on them? I'm not sure it would have worked. I don't know. Do you agree, disagree?
No, I don't know if they should have spent more time on him. I mean, I thought it was fine. You know, I can't see. Sometimes less is more.
Yeah. All right. What's next?
Cinema says, watch the old Planet of the Apes movies recently. It's amazing how they taught those monkeys to act like they were riding horses.
I'll tell you what. It is. You all know I love Shang-Chi. I think it is one of the best Marvel movies that they've done. That moment, then I realized it was acting, just a movie. They only made the how did he put it? They only made it look like they were riding horses or something like that. It was such a good line that Ben Kingsley delivers so flawlessly.
Like the apes only acted like they were riding horses.
They acted like they were riding horses. It's like, oh my God. It was such a great scene altogether. It was a really, really good scene. All right, what's next?
Aaron DC says, when they announced a fourth Apes, I was skeptical there was anywhere else to go. I left Kingdom believing the possibilities were limitless. You just got to keep moving forward with the story.
Yeah, just keep moving forward. And the thing is, in the Planet of the Apes, like where War left off, we are still probably like 1,000 years. I mean, I don't know what the official timeline is, but it's like we're still 1,000 years from where we end up with the original concept of Planet of the Apes, right?
Yeah, because
generations of stories to tell.
Because those apes that we see with Charlton Heston are like wearing clothing,
they have
walking
a distinct
upright.
society.
They have society, science, history, literature. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, and literally in this we got Proximus, who's just like for the first time assembling not a community, but a society.
Yes.
Right? And that's one of the neat juxtapositions of the movie is society versus a community.
We live in a society.
Because, Noah lived in a community. Proximus is trying to build a society, his kingdom. He's trying to build a kingdom. And that's probably ultimately that lays the groundwork. But even then, you are generations away from everything Jonathan just pointed out.
Well, and they also had the lawgiver. They had the rules that they lived by. They basically had the 10 Commandments. Moses had come down from the mount, sort of.
All right, what's next?
Okay, Sholo says, saw Three-Body Problem, Baby Reindeer, and Shogun. What a start to the year. Looking forward to House of the Dragon, The Boys, and Penguin. Have you heard about Dune Sisterhood?
Look, the last I heard about Dune Sisterhood was David Zaslav was talking about the big shows they've still got coming. House of the Dragon, Penguin. He said, the other shows we have coming this year, House of the Dragon, Penguin, and Sisterhood. I have heard nothing about it.
They just added a cast member I read 2 days ago.
Did you? Because they've already started production. They're filming.
They've changed showrunners.
Yeah, that's right.
But
they're full blown. They're going full speed right now. But I have heard nothing about it. Do you know anything about the person they just added?
I don't. I just read. I didn't. I just gave it a cursory glance, and I think it was in Deadline. And it takes place 10,000 years before Dune.
The other show. Ray, maybe you can look this up, see if you can find a release date, because I don't know when it is. Not a lot of people talk about this show except for me and Chris Carr. Why did I just freeze on?
Hang on, I'll get Chris Carr on the phone.
It's Harrison Ford, Jason Segel.
Shrinking.
Psychics?
I was going to say,
yes.
I believe it's say psychic, but it was like,
that's a very different
the psychological.
Yeah. Shrinking. I am still a little bit flabbergasted that Harrison Ford didn't win Best Supporting Actor in a Comedy, let alone he wasn't even nominated.
Season 2?
We're waiting for season 2 to come out. Listen, guys, if you haven't started watching, I think it's an Apple TV Plus show. If you guys have not seen Shrinking season 1, go and watch it. Harrison Ford hasn't been this good in a long time. It's a wonderful, wonderful little show, and I just cannot wait for it. Do you got anything about it when it's come back out?
There's no set premiere date.
No set premiere date yet. I know it's coming, but man, I cannot wait for that to come back. All right, what's next?
Kevin's with a $50 super chat.
Woo!
What up, guys? Just got done with a 16-hour shoot for my short fan film. It was awesome to be on set with a massive crew. What was one of your guys' best experiences on set? Also, very excited for Spider-Man Noir. Will it be rated R? I don't think so.
I doubt it'll be rated R, but I mean, I've been very lucky that I've got to be on a set of a lot of movies. I still think my favorite one, though, because of how much was going on, was when I got to go on set of the first Michael Bay Transformers movie.
Dang.
Because I got to be on set the day they were filming the big battle in the third act of the film in the streets. And to be there on the streets with this like massive, first of all, they had hundreds of extras, like running down the street screaming. They had like cars and vehicles have these like percussions going off that would blow the cars over. And like these guys running around in green suits carrying these 30-foot tall poles with these green tennis ball things going up and down that are supposed to be the Autobots and the Decepticons as cars are flying and extras are running screaming, blah. And that was the same day that they brought over Shia LaBeouf for us to meet and talk. And it was the day that I got to sit down and talk to Megan Fox, who at the time was still a no-name. She goes, I don't know why Michael Bay chose me. It's like, well, we have some theories, but and by the way, she was charming. She was totally delightful the day we met. But yeah, that day was crazy fun. That was a crazy fun day. Rob, you've been on the set of a lot of films. What would you say is your favorite on-set experience?
You know what? The thing that popped into mind, obviously, 25 years ago, I made a movie with William Shatner, but there's a moment where my dad, who was playing a bartender, an extra.
I did not know your dad was involved with that.
Yeah, my dad was in the movie, and he couldn't believe the whole thing. And I told him, because I just told him, you know, we're making this movie. He thought I was like going to make it with Legos or Star Wars figures. I don't know what. But he came on the set. But my dad perpetually had cigars. I think he was born with a cigar in his mouth, and he had 3 cigars in his shirt in the pocket of his lapel. And he's behind the bar, and we're setting up this shot, and Shatner's like, Richard, may I smoke one of those? and I've got a photograph of my dad lighting William Shatner's cigar that he had given him. And the still photographer got the snap. And it's probably one of my most prized possessions. And it was funny because Shatner's like, can I smoke this in the scene? And I was like, it would be my honor, sir. And he does.
That's pretty baller.
That was something that
That's pretty baller.
Miss my dad.
All right, what's next?
We got Oscar, who says, which classic villains do you envision facing off against Spider-Man Noir in the series? Would love to see Black Cat in that throwback style.
None. I'll be honest with you. I'd prefer none.
Yeah.
I'd prefer them to create an original villain for that setting. Now, if they come up with somebody, great. But if they come up with a pre-existing character that they adapt, that's fine too. But I think I'd be more down for them completing a completely original. Do you have?
I totally agree with you. Like you're talking about. The thing is, there's so many different derivations of pulp characters from that era. I think they could come up with something really cool, like a cool villain that a cool actor. I mean, I don't know what actor, but whatever actor they cast, or multiple actors. Maybe there's a rogues gallery in the 30s. Imagine how much fun they're going to have creating new villains to act opposite Nicolas Cage.
Yeah.
Now, Ron H. in the live chat just brought up a very interesting name because really, when you think about it, could fit. Think of that era, black and white era, the gumshoe era, a Capone-like Fisk. A Capone-like Fisk. A Kingpin in that kind of setting. All right, that Ron H may have just won me over with that one.
And
that one might work.
And Global would work off that because he says Tombstone. Could be like his henchman.
It'd be like his henchman.
But you know what? There's the Fisk family could have long, they might have been around for a long time. And so an ancestor or a great grandfather.
Remember, this is in a different universe, so we don't even need it to be an ancestor.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
It can be anything, and there's no reason why that can't happen. You know, like the Rockefellers. What if the Fisk family is a centuries old crime family or something? I don't know. I love that idea.
What's next?
Raymond says, now that Chris Pratt is going to be in the DCU, why stop at Booster Gold? It's a clean slate now. Green Lantern, Green Arrow, Shazam. How about Batman?
Well, first of all, let's be very clear. There is nothing that says that Chris Pratt is going to be in the DCU. He simply acknowledged that possibility.
Yeah.
All right. I mean, Pratt just said, I mean, why not? I mean, he just acknowledged the possibility of it. So let's make sure we understand that that is not a sure thing at all. It could happen though. Could happen. I don't see him as a Green Lantern. I don't see him as a Batman.
No.
I love Chris Pratt. I'm a huge Chris Pratt fan, but I don't see him as a Batman. I mean, I kind of go along with a lot of the popular fan casting on this. I really like the idea of him as Booster Gold.
It's a great idea.
I mean, listen, he could play a lot of other characters. Absolutely, he could.
Or he could play a villain.
Or, how great would it be to see him try playing a villain?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd kind of be down for that too. But I think Booster Gold would be a pretty good one. But, we'll see. All right, now, is that the last one?
Yeah, that's all we got.
All right, guys. And that'll do it for today's installment of the John Campea Show podcast. Thank you so much for being here, making this little show part of your day. Big special thank you to all you guys who sent in those questions. Number one, because you gave us fun things to talk about. But number two, you supported this channel as you did, and all of us involved with the show. Thank you guys so very much for your support. By the way, want to let you guys know who are channel members. We're going to be having a channel member only town hall meeting a little bit later this afternoon. Keep your eyes open on the community tab for when I post the actual time that we're going to start. And I hope to see you guys there. Don't forget to come on back and join us for tomorrow's episode of the John Campea Show. We look forward to seeing you then. So for the people in the room with me, Ray Ora.
See you later.
Jonathan Voico.
On the town hall, you get to vote if I keep my job or not.
Writer, protector. I'm not going to let people vote for that. Writer, director, producer, Robert Meyer Burnett.
Live long and prosper.
My name's John Campea, and until next time, my friends, bye-bye.
This is a new one for Rob.
Pound town. Oh, my God.
Oh, my God.